Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. There is a statistic which I feel, for a modern Western country like Britain, is actually shameful. This government and the previous one, both to blame, should actually be ashamed of these figures. Because the Rowntree Trust, which is a charitable foundation that looks at poverty and how it affects people, particularly families, has said that there's currently 4.3 million children in the UK living in poverty. Of those, 1 million are living in absolute destitution. This is shameful. There's no way a modern society like ours should allow this to happen. And sure, it's not the fault of the children. Quite the opposite. They're often the victims. And of course, poverty and destitution leads to often many forms of other forms of abuse. The people who are tending to be in those positions aren't necessarily the brightest or the best educated, for example, and they often end up being frustrated. And the children are the ones that suffer. It is truly a terrible plight. However, with the effects of this budget yet really to be felt, some already are, but generally it's yet to be felt, the Rowntree Trust analysed the budget, analysed the poverty of the children in this country, and suggested that anywhere between 100,000 and 250,000 more children would fall into poverty over the course of this Parliament. Is it ever going to end? Well, apparently not. The analysis said that with the falling GDP, with higher taxation, and worst of all, with much increasing food inflation, already higher than the average rate of inflation, and bound to go up because of direct policies where the cost of employment is higher, where what they're doing to the farmers is going to definitely push the price of food up, with fuel costs going to increase and therefore the transport of food, etc. It's going to drive millions more people in total into poverty. And it shows that about £1,760 a year, that's how much the average family is going to be worse off. Now, if you haven't got that to start with, where the hell are you getting it? People will starve. People will actually be malnourished in a modern, wealthy nation like Britain. It's disgusting, and it's reflective of the nastiness and the cruelty of Labour and its policies. Remember that Labour was supposed to be the party for the working man, for the poor, meant to raise people up. And it is going to be the party that pushes way more people into poverty than any other government. And it needs to acknowledge this. There will be parents who skip meals to try and feed their children. There will be parents who skip several meals to feed their children. There will be children growing up in homes where there is no heat, where having a bath will be a once a week treat, and where hot food, it would be just a dream. I just can't get over into my head how many children this affects. It's completely, of course, unacceptable. It's beyond unacceptable. No child should be left hungry and cold and worried about where it's going to live. But this government, this Labour government, seems totally uncaring. It's a government of psychopaths. It truly is. There is zero humanity in number 10. There is zero compassion. They're not people. They're husks of people. They are empty and devoid of everything that makes them human. And of course, they know what they're doing. This will have been pointed out. If you do this, then this will happen. And faced with that knowledge, they're choosing to still go ahead and do it. Now, I've mentioned before the pulling of the winter fuel allowance will see around 4,000 elderly people die. They know that, and they're doing it anyway. How many children will die of malnutrition in this country? How many children will be abused to death because of the poverty of the parents? Now, Rachel Reeves stands there during her budget speech and gives a load of old bollocks that pours out of that gash of a mouth about wanting to unite the nation and bring the end of suffering and poverty. And she's the one causing it directly with her policies. There is not one thing that the Labour Party have done that have made the lives of people in this country easier, better, wealthier. They haven't put food into mouths. They haven't put roofs over heads. They haven't put clothes on backs. All they've done is take, take, take. And where they've taken the most in terms of the percentage is from the already poor. They're punishing you for being poor in this country. Now, the Rowntree Foundation, the JRF, they've said that the government is failing to address or even acknowledge the levels of poverty. It's failing to address the conclusions of what they've done in previous reports, and isn't going forward with any coherent plan to lift people out of poverty, which they say can actually amount to very little money in the grand scheme of things. But the difference at the local level, at that level, is horrendously massive. It's just huge. And far from taking money from these poorest in society, we need to be giving it to them to make sure their children are fed. He said, and even the Joseph Rowntree Trust are saying that this is almost, they haven't used the word inhumane, but you read around it and they're saying it's inhumane. They're saying that the government have made, in their words, deeply disappointing decisions with regards to prioritising tax over the lives of people. It's almost as though, why do you need to tax so much to fill it? If you've taken all this tax, use it for the ones who need it. You're not doing that. And they're saying that child poverty will not only continue, but will grow, will expand. It's damning, but it's accurate. And it's all down to the inhuman zombies inhabiting number 10. Let me know what you think. Till next time, goodbye.